This drama is unscripted, and there is no finale in sight. Over 11,000 Hollywood TV and movie writers are on strike. It's now entering its fourth week. They're getting some support from those in front of the camera.
For 25 years, I've made a living. I've provided for my family off the backs of the creativity of writers. And there are no corporations without the revenue that writers give the possibility to make.
I've been your captain for 25 years on SVU, and I could not have done it without the writers. Every word out of my mouth for 25 years. So I stand here and say, let's get this done.
You can't do any of this without great writing. So all of us who make movies, who create anything on television, I am in full support. I know most people are in full support of the writers getting what they deserve.
Clearly, I didn't have a writer for this interview, and look at me, I'm floundering.
Former President Barack Obama also speaking out, saying writers deserve their fair share. Let's be clear, writers aren't all rich, and here's what they're looking for: increased pay, better residuals known as royalties, protections from artificial intelligence writing scripts that they then have to manage, and more. I should note, MSNBC's parent company, Comcast, is represented by AMPTP, which is negotiating with the Writers Guild. And some of our news employees are represented by the Writers Guild. Joining me now is Greg Iwinski, a former writer for John Oliver and Stephen Colbert, who is on the negotiating committee for the Writers Guild. Greg, thank you so much for joining me this evening. This is an issue that I've been very passionate about, talked about for a while. First, I want to dispel some rumors. A lot of people think that if you write, if you're on TV, they think you're rich, right? They assume writers are rich. What are writers actually asking for, and what are some of the financial challenges that writers have been facing that led to this current strike?
Well, I mean, I really like to, in some ways, I watch a lot of basketball. As much as I make TV, I watch a lot of basketball, and I think about it like the NBA. There are dudes who are making $25 million a year. Then there's guys on 10-day contracts, and they're making $80,000 to pay a trainer and an agent and get a second apartment in a city where they're playing basketball. And those guys are struggling. And there are people who are, with the system of mini rooms that's in place, without getting script fees and writing shows, are writing on hit shows and are making $60,000, $80,000 a year to live in Los Angeles or New York, maybe with a spouse and kids. And that doesn't work. Then the show that you're on is a hit. It's making money. There's posters all over town. The executives are so happy to accept awards for it. And you are filing for unemployment. You are going on food stamps. You are trying to take temp jobs like when you started your career, even when you're writing on a hit show.
And Greg, one of the things that's key, there was a viral story just a couple weeks ago about one of the writers on the hit show The Bear, right, who couldn't afford to get to the award show for an award-winning show like The Bear. Now, for context, for the audience to understand, you know, if you wrote on, say, a hit network show 20 years ago, every time there was a rerun, you would get a big residual check. I wrote this episode of, you know, Everybody Loves Raymond or something else like that. But that has changed thanks to streaming. What has streaming done to writers' income, and why are protests against streamers a key part of what's going on with the WGA right now?
Well, I think the problem with streaming is twofold. One is that if all the revenues of television went down and we were making no shows and it was a totally dead industry, writers' pay going down would make sense. Instead, companies are posting huge profits, quarterly profits, bragging to their shareholders about their profits. David Zaslav is doing parties in Cannes where he's like chugging champagne out of a glass swan. So they're making money, and we aren't able to live in the cities where we have to do the jobs that make the things that make them money. And streamers have been particularly aggressive in that, in pushing down pay lower and lower and lower while the profits are going higher and higher. But not just that, they're coming in a way that a lot of venture capitalists and tech people have done before, which is trying to slash labor protections to make those costs lower, to then piecemeal together whatever product you're trying to replace. They tried it with cab drivers and food delivery and hotels and journalism and all these other things. Because if you don't care about quality, then you can just chunk out whatever pieces you want with the lowest labor cost possible.
Greg, we got about 30 seconds left. I just have to ask you this very quickly. The Guild and the Union for Directors and the Guild and the Union for Actors are also coming up on their contract negotiations. Do you think it's likely that this could be a across the industry strike? Do you think it's likely that directors and actors will join the writers in these protests in favor of higher wages and greater protections within the entertainment industry?
I hope we all get the deals that we need that respect our art and our work. What I can say is that the MPTP could negotiate with us and the actors and the directors at the same time. We are ready to negotiate tonight, tomorrow. We can be there anytime. We're ready to get this done. They are continuing to refuse to talk to us, and talking to directors or actors first isn't going to change that they need to make a deal.
Greg Owinski, thank you so much. We're going to be paying attention to this. This is one of the biggest labor movements going on in the country right now. Thank you.
Thank you.